do we need to know the name and identity of somebody for them to be a good witness? And I would say absolutely not. That's a separate point. The second point is, do we know who Matthew and John and Luke and Mark and Paul were? And were they eyewitnesses, or did they have access to eyewitnesses? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. If the gospel is unnamed, can it still be reliable? Yes. If the gospel is pseudo-named, named after Matthew, and he was not involved, that's a problem. Okay. So the gospels were written by either Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, or a consortium that included them. So I contend that. I know scholars say that some don't believe that.
I'm going to let you finish.
Okay. Some scholars would say no, others would say yes. I'm on the camp that says the Gospels are named after those people because they were either the lead author or the only. And I agree. In Greek. Now, that's the third point. I'm talking about the good points we have. And they're all good. That yes, in what we would call Judea, Samaria, Galilee, Palestine, all of that, they spoke predominantly the lingua franca is Aramaic. You go around the diaspora, it changes. Sure. But just as like somebody from Mexico living in San Diego, their mother tongue might be Spanish, they might speak a lot of English too. That's just the commercial language.
You're living in San Diego country, where the language in the country is English.
Yeah.
So that's not a fair example.
No, it is, because all over the Roman Empire, the dominant language is Greek, not Aramaic. So I would think Matthew spoke Aramaic and Greek and Latin.
Where's evidence for that?
Well, he's a tax collector. He had to.
We don't have that. You're making an assumption. Is there a document saying that he spoke those three languages?
You're making an assumption. No, I'm not. I'm going on the historical data.
Okay.
It says if you weren't
your
in that
manuscripts are from when?
I'm not done.
Sorry.
The evidence from the Roman Empire is to work for them. You had to know the commercial language, which was Greek, some Latin to speak with them, and the local tongue of wherever you're working. And so if Matthew was a tax collector, I think it's good evidence he was, then he would have known all three, and would have been able to take shorthand, which is good because he's the one who originally wrote the sayings of Jesus, the longer sermons. Now, the tradition is that I think is the most viable, is that Matthew wrote kind of like a sayings of Jesus, like sort of like a hadith of Jesus, originally in Aramaic. Mark wrote this very sort of the gospel like we have now. And he incorporated a lot of Mark into a second work that was published in Greek, and then Luke wrote third, and then John fourth.
And those were written by them, so we don't have those manuscripts, even if they were.
Yeah, well, all right. So those are the manuscripts. If you ask almost any scholar, most would say John wrote last.
Sorry?
John wrote last. Saying John wrote last of the gospel authors is not controversial.
But that doesn't connect us to that.
Is that a fair statement?
I'm going to let you make your statement, and then
I
still have other points to make.
I would say
in your earlier point
that there's really I think there's a good reason, and there also is a pretty broad consensus that of the four, John is the latest. If that is the case, we do have a fragment, as you know, from John, the 125.
From what year?
From 125.
What? So was he alive in 125?
John, no, he probably wrote in the 90s.
So that means that's not from him.
No, it is from him.
It's from 125.
It's a manuscript. It's not.
But it's dated to 125.
Yeah.
So that means he was not alive when that was written. You got to get your math right.
Wait, right? So no. The authorship and the earliest manuscript are two way different.
But the earliest manuscript you have that's just one line is from 125. That means John was not alive.
Only 30 years after
he was not alive when he wrote, if he wrote that, because that manuscript is from 125.
No, it's a copy, of course.
Okay, so he didn't write that.
He wrote, it's a copy of what he wrote.
So what he may and may not have written, or Mark, or Matthew, or Luke, you don't have any of their manuscript, that their handwriting.
Their original handwriting?
Right.
No.
Okay, excellent.
No, each of them does.
So that copier who copied, did he hear it directly from John?
Probably.
How do we know that? We don't.
Because it's pretty close.
We don't. No.
My point with P52 is the upper limit.
I got you. First thing, that's only one line.
Right? I know, but it's from the author that wrote last. But if it's from the author that wrote last, that means everyone else is prior to 125.
But we don't even know who wrote that, and we don't know who heard it.
Yeah.
But who did you hear it from? We have no proof that he heard it from John or any of John's followers. Meaning that you have no chain to connect the scribe with the person you are scribing that word to. In fact, the gospel, for much of its early time, didn't even have those names ascribed. They were ascribed later.
Yeah, right.
Words of Bart Ehrman. So,
Yeah.
so you admit that those people like John, Mark, Matthew, and Luke, we do not have any of their rights, their personal right, right?
The
what we have,
original autographs that they may have penned or
right, and what
penned
we have
no.
has no chain of recorders connecting that writing with those authors.
No,
We do not.